Hey, my name's Sarah Howe. We're up here at Timberline Lodge where we have some of the most amazing conditions around, sun and probably about a fish of powder, which is absolutely amazing. Today I was on the CAPiTA Space Metal Fantasy. It is a 143. It is basically flat camber with just a little bit of early rise on the outsides. Let you get a nice view of that. So the conditions today were mainly powder. We were going up above the tree line into some out of bounds and canyon areas. So some packed powder, icy, chundery, pretty much any condition that Mount Hood has to offer, because this is kind of that time of year in the springtime where we get any and everything you could possibly imagine, especially the powder, it was deep. This board is absolutely wonderful. It's nice and it's that perfect stiffness. It's right in between being soft and stiff. So I'd say it's medium. It's got that nice, it's got play to it, but not too much. So it still gives you that really good stability when you're rolling through that chunder, because there are definitely a few points today where I was very thankful that this board was a little stiffer, due to the fact that if I was on something softer, it would have been a lot harder to control those edges and on the chunder and the ice that I was on. So like, you know, going back to that, this board was really controlled on that chundery, steep, weird, icy kind of conditions that you hit when you're above the tree line and you get that weird wind drift kind of stuff going on. So at the beginning of the day, I was a little bit reluctant to get on this board, knowing to start off with that it was flat camber, and going into powder, usually a technology like that isn't something you'd normally be looking for. You know, even just the first run, getting off the lift, I made a comment like, oh, it kind of feels like I don't have any edges. And, you know, at first I thought maybe it might just be the snow conditions, but the more I rode today, the more I realized, like, no, it really is the board technology that's helping it feel that way, and it floated. Like that, the flat camber actually allowed that weird pocket of air underneath my feet, and I actually felt that floaty, almost like I was surfing, was the best way to describe it, where I sat back at the back seat and just felt the board take over and just initiated every turn by barely moving my back foot at all, and just enjoyed it. I got to do a couple park runs on this board. Definitely more controlled and comfortable in the park than it was in the powder. That flat base really does help when you lock in on the rails. The way CAPiTA builds their edges, there's something about getting onto the jibs and the way it locks in, and you really feel that comfortability. Jumps especially on this board were absolutely amazing, super controlled. You know, that the flat camber, how I was mentioning earlier with the chunder, and how you really felt that underneath your feet, had that same effect going off the jumps. It was absolutely controlled, and the pop on it is perfect to the stiffness and the ratio of what the board has to offer. So popping up off of those jumps was just effortless. I felt like I didn't need to really do much of anything, just ride the board. So it was a lot of ride-off pop today is what I felt with this board, because it isn't a super poppy, playful board. So you kind of ride into the ability of the board, and it really amplifies and elevates the control that you have underneath your feet. I would suggest this to somebody who is a little bit more skilled on a snowboard, definitely. If you didn't have the experience, it might end up riding you a little bit because of the flat camber and the fact that it does almost feel edgeless. You do need to feel that when you're in the intermediate stages. And again, you know, I've said this about other boards, a beginner might actually truly enjoy this snowboard going into it, because you do feel that control, but you also have a little bit of room to move around before you catch an edge, or before you have to enact your edge and regain control of your board.
It's a little looser.
Yeah, it's a loose board. It definitely is a little bit looser, which is weird because it is a little bit stiffer. So that's what makes it so nice, is that you have that stiffness underneath your feet to come back to when the board kind of starts losing of control. You instantly enact that edge, and it's right back underneath you again. I gave this board a 90 because it was absolutely wonderful on the jumps. I mean, like I said, the minute you took off, like that ride-off pop just sends you into that perfect feeling to be able to spin. I mean, spin weight on this is absolutely glorious. It's super lightweight, but it still has that weight ratio underneath your feet, so that the jumps and the spinning is just effortless.
For the latest snowboard reviews, check out boardinsiders.com.